Welcome to another show of New Hampshire Citizens for Progress. We're going to be talking about money and politics and voter empathy. I mean, it's real disappointing. Do you feel like you're holding your ankles? That you don't have any Vaseline? You haven't gotten a kiss? Do you feel that no matter who you vote for, that they don't do what they're representing you for? They're representing the big money, whoever contributed the most to them. Well, we're going to talk with Jim Rubens here, and I'll let him introduce himself in regards to money and politics.
Well, I'll be short, but I'm former state senator, Republican, former chair of the GOP platform committee here in New Hampshire. Got a lot done. I wrote the state's charter school law. I'm a free market freedom Republican, I guess. You call it a liberty Republican. And I'm here to talk about why conservatives are being screwed by this billionaire-controlled big money system, why our principles are being blackballed, and how capitalism, free market capitalism is being damaged, federalism is being washed out, and how debt is building up in the United States of America as a direct result of this big money system. And furthermore, fourth point, is that the left, the Democrats, have gotten way better at this game than the right is at the game. So, for example, you see right here in New Hampshire in 2018, the Democrats took over our House and our Senate, our Executive Council, because outside billionaire money came in. They identified our state as a swing state where they could use their money to flip our politics around. So the right, conservatives, are being injured very badly in a lot of swing states all over the country, including right here in New Hampshire, by this big money system. And so I'm here to make the point that while the left and Democrats have been behind this kind of reform we're talking about, the 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, so that Congress and the states can again get a handle on this big money-dominated system, the right and conservatives need to get on board on this also. So that's where I'm coming from here today.
Last show we talked about dark money, which was the money we can't identify how it's getting into our politics.
Yeah.
But there's also money that we can, I mean, a lot of times we look at how people vote, and it's almost we can correlate their votes to who and how much they were being contributed to.
You can. Yeah, and the public knows this. We've seen polls, two of them in 2019, showing that of all the major issues confronting Americans, whether it be immigration or income inequality or health care costs, whatever it is, the number one issue in these two polls that the American public thinks has reached crisis proportions, there's only one issue: political corruption in Washington, D.C. is the number one issue that Americans think has reached crisis proportions. And it's as a result of big money dominating our political system and controlling what kind of policies get effectuated. And I know people on the left are bothered by this, and I'm here to make the point, like I'm saying, I'm repeating again, people on the right, conservatives, have got to get on board in this thing because, like I've said, federalism is being damaged. The big money is coming into the states. They're swooping into states like New Hampshire. They're flipping legislatures, and so that states no longer, the voters in particular states no longer get to choose who their candidates are. The big money is choosing the candidates and determining who wins election because of overwhelming flows of money. Capitalism, the support for free market capitalism, is being damaged because we have, instead of free market capitalism where companies go to consumers with the best product and service and compete with conservatives for consumers for their favor, they go to Washington. They look for tax breaks, regulatory favors, contracts, and it's turned out that big companies find that there are far more profitable activities going to Washington getting tax breaks and regulatory favors than going to consumers and winning with better products and services. We've seen reports showing for that every dollar, recent Forbes report showing for every dollar spent on lobbying, companies get a return of over $500 in tax breaks for every dollar in lobbying expenses. So it's more profitable to go to Washington and buy the political system. They've rigged the political system so that young people and people of color in the United States, who will be the dominant voting bloc in about a generation, favor socialism over capitalism. And if you're a free market, liberty-oriented Republican conservative like myself, that's really scary. that free market capitalism is fallen into disfavor. It's a direct result of this crony-dominated, billionaire-dominated big money system where people go to Washington and buy politics instead of voters determining what policies should be
This
directed.
appears that both parties
Yeah.
are suffering from this. That
Both parties.
No matter who I vote for,
Yes.
I feel like they're
Right.
not representing me. I mean,
Exactly.
whether it be for tax breaks, contract awards, regulatory favors,
Yeah.
it means no
The,
matter.
the system is representing the big money interests who have taken control of politics in the United States, and the left is being screwed, the right is being screwed. Hey, we don't agree on how to fix health care between left and right. There is not agreement on there. But what we've got is we've got a system that is the most expensive in the world, and it's that way because of the way Washington had structured the healthcare system. We've got terrible internet and broadband services in many parts of the United States. Right here in New Hampshire, you can't get decent broadband. Why do we have it like that? Why does South Korea and parts of Africa have better cell phone service than we do in the United States of America in Coos County? Why? Because we've got a rigged system controlled by oligopolistic entities like Comcast or AT&T, where they have suppressed competition, aggressively suppressed competition. They've done that by buying politicians through the system we've got here. They go to Washington and they prevent competition from happening. And young people have concluded that capitalism doesn't work anymore, and it doesn't, directly resulting from this corrupt political system. So that's why the organizations I work with, I'm a New England chairman of Take Back Our Republic, a conservative organization advocating for campaign finance and campaign reform. I'm on the board of American Promise, a bipartisan, cross-partisan organization working toward the 28th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, seeking to restore power to the states and to the Congress to set reasonable spending limits and contribution limits on campaign money so that regular voters have power again. And once we give regular voters, both voters on the left and the right and the middle, once we put voters back in control, the country's problems are going to start getting solved. And we won't have the world's highest health care costs. And we'll have competitive broadband throughout the country. And we won't have corn ethanol shoved into our gas tanks here in New Hampshire, suppressing our gas mileage and wearing out our lawnmowers faster than necessary. So I'll stop there.
Yeah,
This is your show.
You pointed out.
Yeah.
You pointed out earlier
Yeah.
that this is an area where everybody's in an agreement, regardless of party affiliation or ideology.
We agree on the problem. We agree the system is busted. The big money system busted. Our country can't fix its problems anymore. And cronies have got control of Washington. And regular voters are left out of the equation. And it's frustrating the pants off people.
I'd add that, voter empathy, but we do have, the climate protests going on. We got the Me
Yep.
Too movement.
Yep.
It seems like all these movements that are going on
Yep.
not only require us talking to each other and working together on a common issue,
Yep.
but it requires activism, that you're actually, you need to get involved. You need to talk to your legislators, and you just can't sit back and be a couch voter.
Definitely not. The framers, the founders of our country warned us that this historically first in the world, first in human history system of government where government is accountable. Who is our government accountable to? Solely the framers of our Constitution. Madison told us this is a system of government solely accountable to you, the people. The people own this form of government. That's the way it was designed. Now, it's not working like that anymore. So while left and right don't agree on how to fix climate or energy or health care, and may not agree in the next decade, the problems aren't getting fixed. We're not making any progress whatsoever. And underneath our failure to fix those problems and our frustration, and this is where the activism comes in, we're talking here about getting to work on the root cause, which is the dominance of our political system by concentrated sources of big money that have bought our political system. So this is where left and right need to agree, and where I'm working to persuade conservatives to get on board on this thing, because the root cause of the problem The root cause of our frustration is the fact that the system is rigged by concentrated big money. That's where we can agree. We've got to fix this. Campaign laws are being broken in two ways. Number one, foreign money is illegal in our political system. Foreigners cannot give money to candidates in our system. What they've done is they've used loopholes in our system to funnel money through this fellow, George Nader, who has been a long-time Middle Eastern lobbyist operative, and got it to campaigns in both parties. And number two, there are campaign funding limits being busted also, because one person or one entity or one government can't give sums of money over a few $1,000s to any one candidate during any one election cycle. So two laws are being broken. So we've got, and this is not the first time we've seen this year. This is the second major U.S. Justice Department allegation that foreign money is buying top-level politicians in both parties in the United States of America. This is a serious problem when you've got countries like the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia buying and funding U.S. politicians. Do those people care about the well-being of people in Coos County, New Hampshire? I doubt it. Okay. And this frustrates, as I say, frustrates the pants. You use lubricant to help your lubricant analogy, but it's frustrating the bejesus out of the American voter that the American voter is being forgotten. The United Arab Emirates, illegally, and Saudi Arabia, likely, this is not yet clear because the investigation is ongoing, the allegations have been made,
Wow.
are determining who our candidates are and who gets elected. This is intolerable. So this is why people on the left, and I'm working really hard to get people on the right, conservatives on board, we have got to fix this problem. So I'm after the 28th Amendment to the United States Constitution to put the states back in control of their, and the Congress back in control of how campaign money is spent and raised. It's out of control now. It's completely out of control. I'm smiling, but I shouldn't be.
You know, besides agreeing on that,
Yeah.
this is campaign finances. This isn't just dark money that we don't know where it's coming from,
Well,
seeking
this-
transparency.
Yeah.
This is also how campaign money is being raised. Are either of your groups active in public financing of elections or campaign limits? A couple of the ways that this could be addressed?
Yeah. Let me talk about Take Back Our Republic, a national organization. We're on the right, and we've got considerable support in Congress. We're not there yet. We're trying to get a bill passed to close a loophole where an individual with a whole lot of money can go out and purchase hundreds, tens of thousands of credit cards and make computer-generated contributions under $100 using fabricated credit cards where you make up names and addresses, and you can funnel money from one donor, a lot of money, way over the limits, millions of dollars, to a candidate of your choice using a loophole in the law. We'd like, at Take Back Our Republic, you can Google us, TBOR, Take Back Our Republic, we'd like Congress to pass a law requiring credit card donations under $100 to have a required address match so that we can be sure that the contributions under $100 are coming from real people and not straw donors, with one individual giving a whole lot of money to a favored candidate. Again, it's another loophole by which big money has gotten control of our political systems. So Take Back Our Republic is working on that. Again, I mentioned I'm on the board of American Promise. You can Google that also, American Promise. We're working on the 28th Amendment. We'd like Congress to draft an amendment restoring, as I said, the states, the power of the states and the federal government to set reasonable limits on campaign contributions and spending. This will be up to Congress to draft the language that would be sent back to the states in an American Promise. We'd like to see this ratified and made a part of the United States Constitution by July 4th, 2026. So 20 states, including New Hampshire, have come on board asking Congress to do this, respectfully requesting Congress to draft the language and send it back to the states for ratification. And we'd like to get to 35, 36 states, 38 states in the next 3-ish years asking Congress to get this job done.
So it takes 2/3 of the states to accomplish this as well?
Well, these are non-binding resolutions, simply asking Congress to get to work drafting the language of the amendment. We have some sample language on our website, American Promise. We're still taking advice from everyone. We're engaging in a process of perfecting the language so that it would do the job as best as possible. Nothing is fixed, but we'd like Congress to reauthorize the states and Congress to set reasonable limits as they see fit.
Well, people should look to history and realize, even if they feel this is very difficult to pass an amendment to undo Citizen United, we've passed amendments before.
Sometimes I hear people say, oh, constitutional amendments, we can't do that. It's something they did, back when they wore powdered wigs in the 1700s, and that's just wrong.
When the public gets mobilized, almost anything can happen. Lincoln once said, with public sentiment, anything is possible. Without it, nothing is possible.
We were talking about the 4 reasons that why conservatives have to get on board supporting this 28th Amendment.
Yeah, I got through 3 of them. Number 1, conservatives are being screwed by the system. They're being outgunned by the left and people like Bloomberg and Steyer, who've just gotten better at the big money game than the right is. And we've seen what happened in New Hampshire. Legislature got swamped. Federalism is being destroyed. These big money interests they're swooping into our states, picking our candidates, determining who our elected representatives are with their big money. Nothing to do with local voters. We've talked about how capitalism itself, free market capitalism, is losing favor among the American public, and young people and people of color are now favoring socialism over free market capitalism. And the last one I didn't talk about is debt. This country, the United States of America, is being swamped in debt. Now, we've made it so far. Interest rates stay low, but at some time in the future, we can't tell when, there's going to be a fiscal or monetary Armageddon. Our country is so deep in debt now. We have a deficit at the federal level. Now, the amount of money that we're spending every year, above the amount of money we're raising in taxes to pay for federal programs, it's $1 trillion a year, as far as the eye can see. This is fiscal insanity. We've never done anything like this except a short period, maybe during World War II, where we had to defeat the Germans and the Japanese, and then it ended, and we started paying down debt. Now, in peacetime, relative peacetime, we're going into debt at a rate of $1 trillion a year plus. Okay, this is insanity. I believe the conservative principle of fiscal responsibility is being trampled, and Republicans in Congress have completely lost interest in controlling spending. And if you go back over the history of New Hampshire, beginning with Mel Thompson, you know, if you're a fiscal conservative and a conservative, that low taxes come from low spending, and the federal government is spending like a drunken sailor. And it's a direct result of this corrupt campaign system, because the money that determines who gets into office, who's get elected, what do they want? They want tax breaks for their particular company or industry. They want regulatory favors. They want spending, and they don't care about debt. As long as they're getting what they want this year, now, let the next generation pay for it in higher interest rates or debt or some kind of fiscal problem. So conservatives need to get behind this movement we're talking about here, which is to reform the corrupt, big money dominated political system, because the country is going bankrupt as a direct result of this system. So there are the 4 reasons that conservatives need to get on board, get in the saddle, direct activism to fixing this big money dominated system.
Yeah, it's not all doom and gloom, though. I mean, we had Bezos put $1.4 million into a city election, Seattle.
Right? There's an example. This is Amazon deciding who they want on a city council, right? In order to get a tax break and some real estate regulatory favors. Now, if you're a regular small real estate developer, someone who can't throw millions of dollars into local campaigns, you're not a player in the system. Your voice is frozen out. So if you're a free market, regular scale developer, not the richest person in the world, who's Jeff Bezos now, he's the richest person in the world, you can't play in the game of American politics anymore. So this is another reason that
He
I
wasn't
advocate.
successful.
What?
The reason he wasn't
Came
successful
close.
is because everybody out there
Yeah.
got active and
right.
got out there and voted. So
Right.
it's not all doom and gloom.
Right.
I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't work all the time.
Right.
The disappointing thing is, though,
Yeah.
it works about 80% of the time.
Right, right.
Look, we all know money doesn't grow on trees, right? We wish, but how many times did we hear that growing up? But for this deep dive, I'd argue money doesn't grow on trees unless those trees are planted in the rich soil of the campaign trail. And if you're running for Seattle City Council, not only is it growing, it is raining cash.
Amazon is pouring big money into the Seattle City Council elections. Amazon made the announcement today in a simple statement. So expect an ad blitz here in the next few weeks.
You've likely seen the headlines about Amazon sinking its teeth into the Seattle elections, contributing more than $1.4 million to support certain candidates.
Jim, I wanted to talk to you about the HQ2, which is the headquarters location of Amazon relative to different states and how they're using their clout.
Yeah, we just talked about Seattle, Amazon trying to manipulate local zoning law, but we saw the bidding war between states, cities, localities all over the country to get Amazon's so-called HQ2, their second headquarters, and politicians crawling all over themselves to give away billions of dollars of taxpayer money to one company, all right? Not to your local merchant who's already there, but to one company that happens to have a lot of money to spend throwing its weight around in politics. And this is emblematic of the problem we've got in a big money-dominated political system all over the country. And this is an example showing why this problem doesn't just exist at the federal level. It reaches down to the state level and local level politics with this HQ2 fight. And Amazon, apparently has got a location, just south of Washington, D.C. in Virginia, an HQ2 location down there. Billions of dollars of taxpayer money being given away. That kind of favoritism is not available to any other company except the very largest companies in the country. And it illustrates again why young people, why people of color, why Americans have lost faith in free market capitalism because of this big money dominated political system. It's
Yeah, it
just another
almost
great
seems-
example.
It seems like some of these agreements I've looked at,
Yeah.
it comes to the point not only are they getting breaks and discounts, that it's actually they're being paid to locate their business there.
They're making money gaming the political system, and it's killing local business, it's killing local jobs, it's killing local enterprise, which is connected to the local economy. You see that when you have a local business providing a product and service, there's a lot more money being spread around locally. As a result of that, the local business will tend to hire your local insurance company, your local contractor, and be concerned about the local labor market. And those benefits all go away with this big money dominated, crony capitalist dominated political / economic system we've got right now there. So there are ramifications, and again, I make the point, I'm making it for the nth time here in this time you've given me here, conservatives need to get on board. If we claim to be concerned about free market capitalism, this is what's happening. The American public is losing confidence in capitalism, and it's as a result of this crony-dominated system. It's got to be fixed. So the upside, the positive part of this, is American activism, American Promise, Take Back Our Republic, other organizations you've had on your program, have shown how regular voters can get involved, fix the system of corruption, repair the system of corruption. Here today, I'm plugging for the 28th Amendment.
There's something else really
Yep.
important going on. Presently,
Yep.
we don't have a quorum on the FEC to be able to take any
Right.
action.
Right.
So even if these companies or individuals running for office violate the law, there's no policeman on duty.
Right. The Federal Election Commission is the policeman that largely is responsible for enforcing existing federal campaign law. And they're basically, without a quorum, they can't take any action on any matter brought before them.
Peterson's departure following the end of Goodman's term means that the FEC, charged with ruling on campaign abuses, no longer has a quorum to rule on any matter. With the incentive of so many foreign countries to influence the 2020 elections in order to put their own interests above those of Americans, I encourage President Trump to fill both the empty Democratic and Republican seats to put a traffic cop back in place prior to the upcoming elections.
So you've seen a comment about the Federal Election Commission. It's basically inoperative. And my sense is, and I don't think I'm reaching too far on this, is Republicans in Congress think this is good for Republicans. Well, it's not good for conservatives, and I don't think it's good for Republicans by freezing the system by which we enforce campaign law, because conservatives have not gotten their voices heard loud enough, and as I've mentioned 3 times, federalism is being destroyed, capitalism, the public support is being lost, and our country is awash in increasing amounts of debt. And conservatives who are concerned about these conservative issues need to understand that by muzzling, tying the hands of the Federal Election Commission, we're allowing foreign money to come washing in. We're allowing the source of the problem that is causing an erosion of principled conservative values. The system that is allowing this to happen is being in part promoted and sustained by Republicans not thinking carefully enough about why conservative principles are being eroded by this system.
Well, Jim, I want to thank you for coming in here and talking to us about this. I want to thank you all for watching. Please watch us again. Be well. Take care. Thank you. Okay. Good.